welcome back. Now, Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Nneema Ashite, says there is no need for organised labour to insist on striking, especially when the country is confronted with fiscal and unemployment challenges. Speaking to Joy News after a closed-door tripartite committee meeting, he was positive organised labour will rescind its decision to embark on a nationwide strike come November 18.
The tripartite committee was inconclusive after hours of dialoguing behind closed doors with organised labour on their threat to strike. Members, however, decided not to open up to the media until they finally conclude the matter. The Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Nneema Ashite, however, described the meeting as fruitful.
We meet with them on issues affecting labour markets, and therefore we thought that even if they were going to go on strike, we need to be informed as employers and employees, but we also were not formally informed, and that is why we called this meeting, so that we can dialogue and find a solution to the problem. I'm saying that there is no need for a strike. It doesn't help anybody. Already we are faced with challenges of unemployment. So this is not a time to muddy the waters. I mean, what would at the outside world, how would the outside world see us? I mean, you know, because you see, it's become a competitive market, a world, now a global world, small world, and therefore capital is looking for areas to go very competitively, and therefore you don't muddy the industrialization climate to your country. You lose out, you know, and it's something that I think that we have to watch. And I must say that we have a very knowledgeable, very reasonable labor, organized labor. So I'm sure, and I have that optimism that we'll be able to solve that problem.
The minister is equally optimistic an automatic tariff adjustment system will deal with the current stalemate. And going into the future, he added that the numerous agitations on the labour front will end after recommendations made to fine-tune the implementation of the single spine payments policy takes effect.
And for the first time, we've succeeded in migrating over 99% of public sector workers onto the spine. It's a major achievement, and I do not think anybody, you know, will think that we will not have problems emanating from migration. And I mean, as I've said, I mean, just post-migration challenges that had to be dealt with, and we are dealing with them based on the report that we get from the committee that have been put in place to look at how we can implement those recommendations, and then I'm sure that will bring some relief, you know, to government and to organized labor. Frankly, I mean, you know, there is no option to the single spine.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama has indicated government will in the next few weeks announce new measures designed to tighten controls and make it impossible for corruption to thrive. He again reiterated his administration's commitment to stem the canker.
Recently, the issue of corruption, transparency and accountability has become topical. Our people expect us to demonstrate that we are able to deal with the canker of corruption decisively, both in terms of putting in place the systems that make it difficult for corruption to thrive, and also deal decisively with cases of corruption wherever they may arise. They also expect us to be transparent and accountable in everything we do. I send you to your posts with my full backing to do everything you can to stamp out corruption. We have passed many pieces of legislation to enhance the fight against corruption, and yet many loopholes still exist that are taken advantage of to perpetrate the canker. In the next few weeks, we'll announce new measures to tighten the system, to ensure more transparency and make corruption more difficult to undertake. And it is my hope that I can count on your support in the difficult fight against corruption.
Now, joining me in the studio, with me in the studio, is National President of Team of Popular Youth, Marcus G. Adampa. Would find out quickly from him exactly what this Team of Popular Youth make of the President's comments on corruption and his commitment to fighting corruption, really, in the country. Many thanks, Marcus, for joining us on News Today.
Thank you very much, Camila.
So, really, the President has said, okay, we are coming up with new measures to control and check, you know, corruption in the country, in his administration, if you like. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, let me say that corruption is a very difficult issue to tackle. We must also admit that many governments have tried, you know, to tackle corruption to no avail. But I think that this time, what the President is saying, I see him to be somebody who is resolute, and he's a different person. So I think his comments are in place, and I can see that he is actually going to deliver on them. Let's give him the chance.
But what does it say for all the times that we have been told as a people that measures are in place, we are fighting corruption? What does it say about all those times?
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you that all those times, you and I, and with other people, the whole of Ghana, I dare say that we all are in this problem. Everybody. So it starts from our homes to our institutions, to our communities, and work to the national level. Now, we must not see corruption as something that is only in politics or in public officers. You know, if you define corruption, some people will even tell you that when a public officer does this and that, then it means that he's corrupt. But nobody is saying that when a journalist does this, when a student does this, a teacher does this, administrator does this, everybody in the society. So it is not only about looking at somebody that he is going to come and fight for it. No. We must see it as a national thing. We must see it as a unified movement of fighting this. Because if you want to say that it's the president alone who is supposed to do this, if the president is trying, is putting measures in place, and you and I are not cooperating, how is it going to be? So I always say that if you see, let me give some few examples. You know, if you are in a public vehicle, you are going, and then the driver lacks some basic things, and the police officer stops the driver and wants to check those things. What do you hear people say? You know, manu bibi and call, and that is corruption. Manu bibi and is corruption. Parents are forcing to place their children in schools, and they can go at any length to pay whatever to the administrators of those schools or to the heads of those schools so that they can place their children. And
because if they don't do that, the children won't go to school.
Well, the children can go to school. We have a system in place that is supposed to do that. So if every parent will sit and say, okay, fine, let's allow the system to work, I think that there will not be any problem with...
If the people at the helm of the system are not allowing the system to work, then it will be difficult for you and I to just sit back and allow the system to work.
Well, how are they not allowing the system to work? For example, let's take it that, excuse me to say this about journalists. Journalists, you know the jobs of journalists, what you are supposed to do. A journalist goes to a function and covers a story. Then after the function, he waits to take something before he gives prominence to that story. Now, at that point, is the big man, is it the big man that is telling you that go and do that? No, it's not the big man, it's the journalist. So it has something to do with attitudinal changes.
I see.
You know, generally, we have to change our attitudes. That is why in the Team of Popular Youth, we have 3 cardinal principles that if we train our youths to be civil, to be truthful, and to be united, that is unity, civility, and then truth. That is what we base our things on. Just look at this. Somebody wants the son to go into the military, and the person will go to any length to pay.
But you seem to paint an ideal picture of what we could be doing.
Yeah.
But the point is, we have a system. Maybe until we have an overhaul of the system, then you and I like the pictures you have painted, we'll continue to indulge in the activities we do, you know, when it comes to getting driver's license, getting some documents and the likes. And so perhaps that is why people look up to the president and want the president to take action. Perhaps when the president takes action at the apex level, it will trickle down to you and I level.
Again, people who say that the president should take action, what action are they talking about? Ghana is a democratic nation. We believe in the rule of law. Kemini, as we are here right now, let the president order that, okay, soldiers go and arrest this person because he is perceived as corrupt. We will say, oh, democracy, we live in a democratic world, and so you must give the person. The same people who say that, oh, go, arrest them, arrest them, arrest them. They are the same people, after any action like that, who will come and say, oh, the president is not practicing democracy. Now, what are we saying here? This is a president who is saying that, okay, I will fight this thing. There's a gestation period for things like this. The fight against corruption is not an event. It cannot be an event. It must always be a process. And we must make sure that we give the people, we make sure that we get the people, we get proper evidence before we'll be able to fight somebody. If, let me give you an example. It is in our society that district chief executive has been appointed. After he leaves office, then he walks on the ground. People see him and say, oh, look at that man. He's useless. He's been given a position. He couldn't make use of it. In our society, that is what we do. But nobody thinks that, oh, maybe that man has been very upright in his movements. That is why, but because society says it as useless, because any position you are given, you must make sure that you benefit from it, quote and unquote. That is the problem. But I see the president is going to work. I believe that this is a president you can trust the fight against corruption. That's why he's saying that those who question him about his, you know, attributes about the fight against corruption or his actions, they don't know him. What is the sole commissioner doing? He's revealing so many things.
You see, that's why a lot of Ghanaians seem to have the problem. We're revealing. But what are we doing about the things we're revealing? Nobody's saying that the president should take a dictatorial, you know, position. But because over time we haven't seen action when it comes to, you know, persons implicated or having caused financial loss to the state, it makes it difficult for people to sit back and keep quiet and say, well, we've seen the JIDA report, we've seen, you know, what's happened with our bonded warehouses, and we'll just fold our arms and wait for what will happen. People will begin to talk.
You know, we say that the wheels of justice grind slowly. Before you put together evidence, after all, there should be investigations. That is the cost of the rule of law.
Right.
That is the cost of the rule of law.
We'll end it here now for now, Marcus. Perhaps another time would spend a bit more time on this. Marcus G. Adampa is national president for the Team of Popular Youth. We've been speaking on the president's comments on his fight against corruption. Move on to some other areas. And the recent fire outbreaks have been identified as one of the many factors contributing to the high cases of burns recorded at the Burns and Plastic Surgery Unit of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. It is also estimated that 35% of the cases can be attributed to the country's growing petrochemical industry. Chief Director at the Ministry of Health explained the ministry was reconsidering expanding the burns department to cater for more cases.
The Pan-African Burns Society met in Accra to discuss new technologies in handling such cases. The society is projecting to prevent burns by some 50%, encourage the highest standards of burns care, and disseminate knowledge and information on preventing burns by the year 2015. The Accra meeting brought together participants from over 5 African countries. Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Reverend Albert Botwe, called for an expansion of the burns unit of the hospital in order to cater for more cases.
This condition has continued to suffer from neglect by way of resource allocation. The Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, is developing a burn intensive care unit in addition to the facilities already available at the Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center. It is our hope that this facility will improve burns mobility, mortality, and serve as a center for teaching and research.
The National Director of the Ghana Ambulance Service called for a proper collaboration between health officials and those who work with highly inflammable commodities to help reduce the high incidence of burns in the country. Other speakers also called for expert training for health practitioners to enhance their skills in handling burn cases.
You're watching News Today. Now, the president of ABIM Institute of Technology, Dr. Abim Danso Ampoma, is worried about the rejection of university graduates in the job market due to lack of job experience. The situation is said to have contributed to the higher rate of graduate unemployment in the country. You're watching News Today. I'll be right back. Thanks for staying on News Today. Let's go back to our earlier story just before the break. The president of ABIAM Institute of Technology, Dr. Abim Danso Ampoma, is worried about the rejection of university graduates in the job market due to lack of job experience. The situation is said to have contributed to the high rate of graduate unemployment here in the country.
Pass out of various universities and polytechnics every year. Most of the graduates are unable to find employment, as most employers demand at least 3 years of work experience. The situation has been compounded by the few job openings available in both the public and private sectors. Speaking at the launch of the ABIAM Institute of Technology at Ubom in the Central Region, President of the school, Dr. Abim Danso Ampoma, spoke of the need for students to have practical experience to boost their chances of getting employed.
In the first place, school was set for people to be trained and give them a work to do. That was what school was, originally created. It wasn't created that after you have school, then you go and look for job. When you finish school, you will be enrolled into a job.
The school offers practical job experiences and direct job placements to students after completion. The school has radio stations, film academy, which practically impact students in all their field of study. Dr. Abim was not happy about the tedious procedures in getting accreditation from the National Accreditation Board.
We had to come to our own home, which is National Accreditation Board. It was very hard. I pray that things will change, because it's very, very rough there. They took us through hell, but we managed to get it.
Ghanaian actor Prince David Osei, speaking at the launch, urged Ghanaians to enroll for the real talent development.
This is a man that has a great vision to help anyone that has got talent or anyone that wishes to do something in life. So if he's come to Ghana to do something of this nature, all we need to do is embrace it, encourage him, give him ideas and push him to do something great for this nation. So I'm highly grateful and happy to be affiliated with the ABIAM family, with the ABIAM University.
The school has accommodation facilities for those who may need residence.
The Ghana Cocoa Board says licensed buying companies are to blame for the inability of drivers hauling cocoa to the various delivery points across the country to discharge their cargo. According to Cocoa Board's public affairs manager, the companies are unduly flooding the warehouses with a lot more produce than they expected to. Hundreds of haulage drivers have been stranded at the delivery points, unable to offload the beans for weeks.
The Cocoa Board Public Affairs Manager says, though the 32 licensed buying companies who buy cocoa from farmers on behalf of Cocoa Board have specific daily quotas they are to deliver depending on their capacity, many have refused to comply. Noah Menya says the LBCs could be sanctioned.
If you miss bringing the produce that day, it means you've lost the quota. If you pile it up with subsequent days and say that for this number of days I didn't have produce, and since those days have passed after the season had opened, you are putting all together, then we will see the issue that we are seeing at the port, because you cannot expand the port's capacity immediately. So we have looked at the situation, we've gone to the port, we've seen what is happening at the port, and we are going to apply the sanctions appropriate to the LBCs who are flouting the rules.
Despite the measures to prevent such holdups at the warehouses, the storage capacity falls far below the annual tonnage of cocoa. But Noah Menya says the situation is still manageable, especially as they are expanding their warehouse capacity.
We are just about to commission 100,000 capacity warehouse that has been put up at Takoradi. All the LBCs have warehouses up country where they could, after grading and sealing, hold the stock and manage the stock coming to the port. You realize that we still have even sheds or warehouses up country which are lying fallow. And it's because the license buying companies want to move fast and not use it. We cannot expand warehouses to the capacity of our production, because if we do that, it then means that once we start shipment, the warehouses are going to lie fallow, and it does not make economic sense to do that.
He describes as unfortunate the situation haulers at the Tema Port find themselves in.
Really, it's very sad that we subject our operatives to such condition. The capacity of the warehouse, Tema, is to offload about 50 to 70 trucks a day. That is what they can stretch themselves to. Now, if we get 100 trucks coming in a day, then what it means is that almost half of them are going to stand and wait. And the following day, if we get another 100, we are building up the stock. And that is why a quota system must be respected, so we can manage it.
But insists if all players in the industry conduct themselves appropriately, it will be easy to manage storage of the beans until they are exported.
Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Ayite, has advocated massive investment in the manufacturing industry in Africa to boost the economy and create more jobs. Ernest Ayite said an African country that does not create jobs would also be dependent on other countries who would in turn demand the enforcement of their own policies, which may not be the best for the country. Professor Ayite was speaking at the second of two series of the 7th Archbishop Lemaire Memorial Lectures, and he spoke against the lack of transparency in leadership in a secular state, adding, if there are laws in a country that require transparency in leadership in a secular state, corruption will not be necessary and things will change. As we'll move on to some other stories, and the world's biggest car maker, Toyota, has raised its profit forecast as the yen's weakness and cost-cutting measures helped lift its earnings. It now expects to make a net profit of 1.67 trillion yen, just about $16.9 billion in the financial year to 31st March 2014, up from trillion yen. Toyota upped the forecast as it reported a net profit of 1 trillion yen for the 6 months to the end of September. The results are in contrast with Nissan, which cut its profit outlook last week. Toyota said it expects to sell 9.1 million vehicles in the current financial year and generate a revenue of 25 trillion yen during the same period. This is News Today. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Now, last night there was action in the UEFA Champions League, and of course, Real Madrid and Manchester United, they were really held at their venues. And of course, we saw Bayern Munich going away to win. Let's catch a glimpse of what happened in some of the matches in the UEFA Champions League matches that were played last night.
Qualification for the Champions League knockout stage was on the cards for Real Madrid as they travelled to Turin to face Italian champions Juventus. Victory for Los Blancos would ensure a place in the last 16, while Juve were looking to end their 5-match winless streak in the elite club competition. The first chance of the game came in the 13th minute. Gareth Bale tried to weave the ball into the bottom corner of the net, but keeper Gianluigi Buffon was equal to the challenge. Juve started to apply the pressure, and it told as Pepe came close to netting Paul Pogba's cross into the back of his own net, but a fine save by Casillas kept the scores level. The old lady remained in the Madrid half, and Carlos Tevez's pass was met by Llorente at the far post, but again Casillas was on call to make a save. Juve were awarded a penalty 5 minutes from half-time after Rafael Varane was adjudged for bringing Pogba down in the box, and Arturo Vidal made no mistake from the penalty spot.
He keeps his nerve and nicks Juventus ahead.
Some miscommunication between Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema cost Madrid a possible equalizer. Juve going into the break 1-0 up. The duo made up for it after the restart as CR7 equaled Ruud van Nistelrooy's record tally of 8 goals in the group stage. Record signing Gareth Bale added the second after some great build-up play by Los Blancos, firing the ball into the back of the net. The celebrations were short-lived as Juve found their equalizer, Llorente heading home Martin Caceres' free kick for his second goal against Madrid in as many games. Despite chances in the final stage of the game, a winner could not be decided as the match ended in a 2-2 draw.
While Manchester United had to hang on for all 3 points at Old Trafford the last time they met Real Sociedad, they would have been keen on completing the double and all but securing a place in the next phase of the Champions League when they travelled to the city of San Sebastian. Looking to make it 5 wins in a row in all competitions, the visitors controlled early proceedings, but only got their first shot in anger in the 10th minute, Shinji Kagawa firing wide. The Japanese international was then on target a few minutes later, but Bravo was well behind the effort. Despite seeing plenty of the ball, United found it hard to outsmart the Sociedad defence, and the host would remind their guests that things weren't going to be comfortable with a close effort on the stroke of half-time. Having weathered an early second-half storm, United created the best chance of the opening 15 minutes, one ballooned by Chicharito from a few yards out. Having just come on for Rooney, Robin van Persie was only kept out by the furniture before another effort sailed wide of goal. Then, after another contentious penalty involving Ashley Young was given, the very same upright kept RVP out.
Oh! And did Bravo get hands on it, or was it the post? It doesn't matter. Robin van Persie has failed from the spot.
Despite finishing the match a man down as Fellaini received a second yellow, the contest was well over by then. Scoreboard untroubled in Spain a little under 2 weeks ago. As expected, the Bavarians were immediately on the front foot, with only the woodwork keeping them out as early as the 14th minute. Despite Bayern creating more chances, the scores were still level early in the second half. The hosts had hung on valiantly for 65 minutes. Mario Mandzukic breaking that with a neat header, and Bayern finally in the lead. It was a goal good enough for all 3 points, unbeaten and through to the last 16 by the defending champions. It took only 3 minutes for the citizens to take flight. A foul on David Silva in the box, handing Kun Aguero a chance to continue his hot streak in front of goal, a task he had no issue with. While the visitors looked capable going forward, Aguero was finding his evening rather pleasant, showing his class in doubling up.
They can't stop him. Who can? Sergio Aguero, superstar.
Since he weren't done in carving CSKA open, Alvaro Negredo was well found for an easy tap-in, all within the opening half hour. Having seen his Chargers dominate the opening half, Manuel Pellegrini would have been disappointed to see them concede on the stroke of half-time, Seydou Doumbia carving his way into the net for something to be happy about for his side. The 3-goal cushion was restored only 6 minutes into the second stanza, Negredo keen to match Aguero with his second as well. The Russians would also get their second. Doumbia illegally wrestled down in the box by Gael Clichy before getting up and calmly slotting in the spot kick. The final say in the 7-goal thriller would go to Negredo, his hat-trick sealing a good 5-2 victory for City.
There are fixtures coming up later tonight, and here they are. There will be as many as 4 Ghanaians playing in the UEFA Champions League. Chelsea are taking on Schalke 04. Remember that Ghana striker Kevin Prince Boateng plays for Schalke 04. FC Basel are at home to Steaua Bucuresti. Borussia Dortmund are at home to Arsenal. Marseille, they go away to Napoli. Remember that Andre and Jordan Ayew will start for Marseille in that game. Zenit St. Petersburg are at home to Porto. Austria Vienna, they go to Spain to play Atletico Madrid. Celtic, they go away to Ajax Amsterdam. Barcelona, they host AC Milan. Also remember that Sule Ali Muntari plays for AC Milan, and he is part of Ghana's squad. Right, Orlando Pirates say they are not worried about security in Cairo as they prepare to travel to the Egyptian capital, Cairo, to face Al Ahly in the Champions League final. The South Africans meet their opponents at the Arab Contractors Stadium on Sunday for the second leg of the Premier African Club competition following last Saturday's 1-1 draw in Soweto. Now, political and social unrest in Egypt as well as outbreaks of football-related violence have led to concerns about safety, and Ghana have twice asked for their November 19 World Cup qualifier against the North Africans to be switched from Cairo's 30th June stadium. FIFA ruled that the game could go ahead after receiving security assurances from the Egyptian government and the Confederation of African Football, CAF, and they have now taken the same view to allow Al Ahly to host the Pirates in Cairo. And ahead of this game between the Black Stars and the Egyptian national team, the sports minister, Elvis Efiye Ankwa, is currently in Monaco attending an international conference on peace and sports. And over there, he tells Joy Sports that he will make his submission, another appeal to FIFA to see if the game could be moved away from the volatile Cairo to a neutral ground. Wrapping it up for sports this afternoon, it is proudly brought to you by Tigo. Smile, you've got Tigo.
In arts and entertainment, last year it was an explosive worship moment at the Dome of the International Conference Center. This year, though, is promising a much bigger concert at the Accra Sports Stadium. The UK-based Ghanaian gospel artist Sonny Badu says his year's concert, dubbed Africa Worship with Sonny Badu live in Ghana, will be more thrilling and anointing-filled, as renowned international gospel artist Ron Kenali will also be there. Showbiz caught up with Sonny, who is already in town.
Sonny says to ensure that patrons of this year's concert enjoy full participation, the venue has been moved to the Accra Sports Stadium, revealing to us some of the exciting personalities who will be joining him to lead the worship.
This year, it's going to be at the Accra Sports Stadium, and I just can't wait because we're bringing Ron Kenali, and then I'm bringing some comedians from Nigeria and then a lot of artists from Ghana as well. So it's been titled Africa Worship with Sonny Badu. I've got Funny Face coming, you know, he's a good friend, a good brother. So we're just making sure you have everything there on that night.
Recounting the fire incident at last year's concert, Sonny expressed how scared it got him, but yet maintained his composure.
Right, so we get on stage, and I think one of the things went wrong, so it caught the curtains, and my band was still playing without looking back because I said, don't look back. And, you know, when you're looking at the crowd and they're looking behind you like, look behind you. So I looked and I saw the fire. Now, I didn't know whether to cut the show or to keep going. So I had to be very professional and just pray that the fire service comes. You know, and then they came, they did a good job. Took the fire down, and then we just carried on with the concert. But it was fun but scary.
He says he, together with the organizers, are making everything possible to make the upcoming concert a memorable one, encouraging all to rehearse Kokoroko, the theme song for this year's Africa Worship with Sonny Badu live in Ghana.
I've never seen this kind of before. Yeah,
Voice today. Look at our major stories. Minister for Employment and Labour Relations urges organized labour to rescind its decision to embark on a nationwide strike on November 18. Top official of the UN mission in the Democratic is Kimini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye.